Here's the story about this ring of fire prophecy that we kept hearing about from Corrie Ten Boom, that about a vision, a prophetic vision that Corrie Ten Boom had about this area in the Ozarks back in the 1970s. So I have an article here, so I'm just going to read this. So this article is from the Corner Gathering newsletter, and the editor, the woman who wrote it, is Julie Turner, and this is from Harrison, Arkansas. It's a Harrison, Arkansas newsletter, and so that is like 20 minutes away from us here. So anyway, she starts off, I've received, and it's from 2010. Okay. She says, I've received so many inquiries about Corrie Ten Boom's prophecies and David Wilkerson's prophecy concerning the Ozarks that I decided to include everything I have about it in this newsletter. So this is what she's done here. So she says, Corrie Ten Boom appeared on Trinity Broadcasting Network in the late 1970s. She was being interviewed by Paul Crouch. She said, looking into the camera, the Lord has told me that the center of the Christian movement in the United States will take place in Northwest Arkansas. Then she turned to Paul Crouch and she said, where is Arkansas? So God had given her this word and she didn't even know where it was. So, because she wasn't from the States. So anyway, then here's a couple more stories that she tells. There is a church in Fort Smith named Maranatha Fellowship where Corrie Ten Boom ministered at one time. She told the congregation that the Lord had said, God has set aside Northwest Arkansas for his people. Here's the next story. Bill Gothard, a well-known man of God, tells about his airplane flight in the late 1970s when he sat next to Corrie Ten Boom. She told him of a vision that she was experiencing during their flight while looking down out of the airplane window. She saw an amber-colored flame on the terrain below in a ring. Miss Ten Boom asked Bill Gothard what part of the country they were flying over. He got up and asked the pilot and found out that it was the Ozark Mountains in northwest Arkansas. So Corrie stated that there would be something big to do with ministry in this area and talked about it a second time that evening as a guest at the Gothard's dinner table. Bill's sister, who is also his secretary, still remembers that conversation at their dinner table as she confirmed on the phone on March 22nd, 2006. So Corrie Ten Boom came back to Arkansas later before her debilitating stroke, and in her spirit, she had a vision. She saw angels with drawn swords protecting northwest Arkansas from her vantage point just north of Harrison, which is this area. Several members of the Great Passion Play who were with her that day confirmed that. So there were corroborating witnesses. Then there was also another prophecy from David Wilkerson, if you know who he is, about this area. And he said that this area will be used as a haven for people who will flee from the east and west coasts. So, wow. So how incredible that Corrie Ten Boom had two visions and a word from God about this area, the same area where we are, and that it was going to be the center, the beginning place of a great revival that would eventually overtake the whole United States. And so that's just pretty amazing. Now, I do want to tell you, full disclosure, as I was researching for this, I did discover this one man who calls himself Onesimus Jones, and he claims that all of this stuff, about this Ring of Fire prophecy is just a bunch of hogwash. And the reason why he knows that is because this woman who worked as a nurse for Corrie Ten Boom for a while said, well, I never heard Miss Ten Boom talk about that. So this is his big proof. And he says in this article that everybody who believes this, we are just all stupid morons. In fact, we're listening to demons if we believe it. So the only reason I'm telling you this is because he's very, very vocal. And so I found his statements all over the internet. Plus, they have worked their way into a couple of very popular books about the spiritual history of this area. So I just wanted to mention it in case any of you come across this. He sounds very, very confident. He's also very rude and very mocking and very arrogant. So I will tell you something. I've done a lot of research, and I found corroborating witnesses. I found a lot of evidence, way more evidence that this really is true than his nurse saying that one thing. So anyway, and another thing that I have found as I'm doing research for these things, anytime there's any kind of prophetic word, there's always going to be some sort of kickback. So what you need, and I talk about this a lot on my podcast, is look at the behavior of the person that you're listening to. If they have this mocking, arrogant attitude, it could be possibly they are right about something they're saying, but they are not somebody that you necessarily want to listen to because they are not their behavior is not in alignment with the fruit of the Spirit. And so that's a good indication that that's probably not somebody that you want to listen to. So probably we're not the ones listening to the demons. Anyway, okay, that's all for Mr. Onesimus. Okay, so that is Corrie Ten Boom's prophecy.